They certainly seem a lot more happy-go-lucky than the solemn side of Insignem. A little bit more focused up. I think that was a pretty strong wake-up call. It is kind of early here, I guess, early to a certain extent. I don't really know what you define as early, but
okay. Look, 11 a.m. is not that early, Taco. I'm a gamer. I get it.
I'm talking about it from the player perspectives.
Okay, if 11 a.m. is too early for them, then they need to adjust their life cycle, because this is a normal human time to be awake and doing things. All right, I don't buy that excuse any day of the week. As we're in for picks and bans here for game number 2, Insignem now in the first pick. They took second pick in the last one. Well, I don't know if they were the ones who selected first or second pick, but they get the choice here as the losers of game 1, and they will take the first pick away from Anxiety Onset. Same bans from Insignem, but different from AX this time around. AX bans away the Robin. Now that Aphrodite ban that they did in game 1 is now open, but no way Insignem's going to first pick that. You just open yourself up to way too much counter picks.
Well, this is the pick that I think that most people were probably expecting that should have happened in game 1. I mean, the fact that Terra was not selected and made it through to the 3rd and 4th banning stage, I think that was an egregious mistake by Insignem. And I wouldn't be surprised if they just completely forgot about it because everybody's so used to her being banned.
This is a much better start for Insignem's draft. I can agree with you there. Anxiety Onset hovering the Geb, and honestly, I don't mind it getting picked this early on, as long as you aren't locking in a support or another solo laner until after the second ban phase. You can kind of wait it out a little bit, try and flex away your opponents, and Artio can fill that same role. I gotta say, I do not like how often Anxiety Onset are hovering one god and then changing it to another. It's getting on my nerves already.
They're just a bunch of little memers.
They really are. They really are. It's fine. I'll adjust. I just won't talk about what they're hovering anymore. I'm going to outplay them. They can't outplay me. Hachiman, the selection for Halfghost, and he has been usually a priority pick for Anxiety Onset. They seem to like to prioritize their dual lane in particular a lot of the time, and this seems like it could be that here for them this time around. Joshy played the Hui last time around. Didn't have that much success, but looked pretty good in lane. It's just by the time he got to the team fight phase, the mid and right side of the map had dominated from Anxiety Onset by that point already.
Wonder what the odds are that Insignem puts Zearoe onto the Odin, knowing that Anxiety Onset already have the Artio, they already have the Hachiman. That's two gods that don't have reliable escape away from that ring. And I do like the Agni. Looks like Insignem has a completely different thought process in mind, in which they just want to take as much frontline as possible. And Geb and Terra, two perfect gods for protecting an Agni.
I like this so far from Insignem because Agni is Paul's other de facto pick. He's played mostly 3 gods so far in the spring split. It's been Hebo, it's been Agni, and it's been Thoth. So you ban away the Thoth, you take the Agni. Paul has to go to the Hebo. I don't know what he would go to next in the god pool, honestly. Maybe a Raijin or something like that. Just thinking back to his time that I played against him on console, Raijin was part of his god pool then. I can't imagine it's any different now. But Hebo is the selection, but this is something that Insignem should be ready for this time.
I would probably say Paul Kronos would be the next pick.
He did play some Kronos as well during the spring
It felt
split.
like he mostly cycled through the Agni, Habwa, and Kronos. I think that those were like his 3 primary gods, and no one really seemed all that interested in trying to prioritize mid lane bans against Paul and Anxiety Onset.
Which surprised me. This is a draft that I think that were I Insignem's coach, this is something that I think I would draw up, where we ban one, we take the other, we expect the third one to go to Paul, and it does. It's the Habwa. So now, but the entire draft as a whole has to be constructed to then beat up on the Habwa. That's the important thing. It's all well and good to know what your opponent's going to pick, but if you know what they're going to pick and then they still beat you with it, it didn't do you a whole lot of good. You have to pick the rest of the gods and try and force that to be a bad pick for them.
I can definitely see where you're going with that one, because I do feel as though that is a bit of a necessity, where even if you kill a Habwa a couple of times early on, you still need to make sure that you have a full team composition that can continue to smother him, because otherwise he's just going to get the farm that he needs anyway and just deal as much damage in those team fights as what he probably would have been had he been even from the get-go. So you've always got to kind of subconsciously keep that in mind, especially if you are Insignem and permitting this Habwa pick to go through. I do personally think that they are allowing the Habwa through so often because they'd rather deal with that against Anxiety Onset and know what to expect in the mid lane and then choose to adjust the rest of their draft around it. And the Ratatoskr pick is actually one that I think Insignem might have been hoping to receive because Ratatoskr against Habwa, probably one of his primary jungle god weaknesses is in terms of a god that can just sit on top of him and really look to punish him throughout the earlier stages of the game.
I love this Rat pick, man. It's so good against the Habwa, as you mentioned, and LASBRA, this has been one of his premier gods so far during the spring split. LASBRA seems to like to play the pressure gods in the jungle. It's a lot of Rat. It's a lot of the Circuit that we saw last game. It's a lot of Dodgy as well, and I think that's where I'm going now if I'm LASBRA. It's something that can actually just outright kill the Habwa.
Well, you might have been spot on with that Dodgy suggestion, Aggro. It all depends on whether or not he's going to fully commit to locking it in, but having that Powwow ultimate would be incredibly useful, especially if they do choose to throw Joshy onto Medusa. Joshy really just committing to these utility-based hunters, and I think that's a little bit different than what we've been seeing out of a lot of hunters lately, where most of them have been opting for the hyper carry late-game gods, but Medusa versus Hachiman still has a relatively decent boxing potential, and not to mention that her laning capability is pretty sick as well because she doesn't receive movement penalties for side-to-side auto attacks, and having those enhance that aren't affected when you're strafing are pretty useful.
It really is. Cerberus final selection for Mandowarrior, one of his signature picks. Seems to like the Guardians quite a bit in that solo lane. Insignem this time around, this composition is just team fight central. I mean, Terra, the best team fighting ultimate in the game. Agni, one of the best team fighting mages in the entire game. Medusa, one of the best hunter ultimates for team fighting in the game. Is that enough, though, to force game 3?
If Insignem play game 2 like they did game 1, they're not going to stand a chance, even with this draft. I thought their draft was better in the last games, and I still personally feel that way. I just don't think that they played it appropriately. And right now, I love their picks. I'm just not fully confident after seeing that game of performance that they're going to be able to strip this one away from Anxiety Onset.
So you're saying Insignem could use a little bit of aggro? Who couldn't, though?
Are the casters ready yet?
Let's be real. They sure are. It's Finch and Tully.
No one wants any more aggro. No. That's what I'm going to come out onto the limb and say. Finch and Tully here that we're going to be bringing you Anxiety Onset versus Insignem Game 2. And who do you think will win? Go ahead and vote in the mixer poll for us, please.
A lot of team fighting composition here between both of them. I mean, we were talking about it on the desk here. Agni for DeathPanter. Very important to look for those bomb stuns and really punish this Habwa because, like Taco even said, they know that Habwa is coming, but they're not playing around it to try to shut it down early game. So if you're letting it go through that mid to late game, that 800 damage ultimate around level 13, 14 is just going to really destroy LASBRA.
And they're letting him build so greedy, right? He's building the Bancross talent to start, right? It should be relatively easy to punish, especially because he's playing aggressively, like into the enemy jungle. But instead, the rest of Anxiety Onset are creating so much space for him that they just can't lock him down.
A little bit of safety with the Geb from Insignem. I wasn't really sure where they were going to go between solo/support as a Terra/Geb, because normally Terra, before the ultimate changes, easy solo laner. You have the global ultimate, but this time without the change, or with the change rather, it's more team fighting behind it. So you're really looking for that damage mitigation. 71% believe Anxiety Onset are going to dominate here.
I believe that's up from last game, too, so Anxiety Onset certainly won some people over after the Game 1 performance, and I'm not too surprised. They looked very, very strong there. But don't forget, Insignem looked very strong as well. They've got DeathPanter here, and on Agni, one of his gods that he has looked the best this split on so far, so I wouldn't be surprised if Insignem had this one looking different. As already coming down for just a little bit of a proxy here.
Showing a very early proxy. I'm surprised because it seems that Anxiety Onset really understand where Insignem is going. They throw the Hunter with the mid-mage trying to clear the mid-wave into it, red buff invade. That's the goal. So out clear them by proxying and look for another invade on the opposite end while potentially purple buff invading. That whole wave under the left tower needs to be absorbed by HalfDevil. That experience is too valuable.
Yeah, it's just all going to be lost now as he tries to defend the purple. And I feel like he kind of got caught in between a lose-lose. He can't get the wave. He can't defend the purple, so he should just come over to wave. Instead, though, they take the purple away, and now they're going to come down and continue looking for more in the jungle. Joshy's here, and he has to be careful.
The red buff for Joshy, red buff for Paul, so 1 for 1. Going to see how the Hunter stacks up in the duel lane, considering Anxiety Onset going to still zone away Joshy, looking to play very aggressive.
Forces the beads out of him early. Heavenly Banner even smacks him one good time, too, to put in some good damage. Now they can head back and get pressure in the wave again.
Insignem are really panicking, both the beads and the defensive sprint being used. Meanwhile, Anxiety Onset are playing it cool as a cucumber. They haven't used any defensive relics in the duel lane.
And Mandowarrior is able to get the beads out of LASBRA here in the jungle. Wall comes out from Zearoe to try and limit the aggression, but I don't think Mando needed any more. He forced the beads, and that's all he wanted.
It's true.
LASBRA going to be a lot easier to target.
Stripping away the blue buff was a nice little advantage, but at the cost of the beads allows the potential gank from Mollusk and Paul. One knock-up out of this Hob Walk can easily find a victim.
Already, though, Anxiety Onset showing, I think, a control of the map. Their strategy, I think, is a step ahead of Insignem's right now, and Insignem are still kind of on the back foot trying to figure out how to respond. Where do they need to go to try and relieve some of this pressure early on is the question they're asking.
Zearoe just uses lane clear to bully out the Cerberus solo lane. Not the most ideal thing to do here, HalfDevil.
He's still level 1.
Level 1, yeah. This is interesting how aggressive Anxiety is on the dual lane side of things, as LASBRA was going for that blue buff invade, still keeping the dual lane of Anxiety unchecked.
But this is what Anxiety Onset does. This is what PainDeViande rosters do, right? They constantly pose these questions to you. They force you to make all these micro decisions. HalfDevil trying to decide to defend purple or whether to go to wave. Those types of decisions that are hurting him now are the ones that Anxiety Onset constantly force you to try and answer.
Good patience coming out of LASBRA, allowing DeathPanter to dash so that he can dash on top of his Agni mid laner. I was waiting for the knockup from Paul, but it just never came through. And something that happened last game was all these dual lane invades, and it's not stopping with Anxiety Onset in game 2.
They've taken the red buff. Now they're going to come down and see if they can grab purple buff as well. DeathPanter had to back, so he's not going to be able to rotate over to help defend that. We do see LASBRA is making the rotation, so perhaps that'll be enough for Anxiety to back off. And looks like, at least for the moment, Pain is still around.
There's still no beats for 50 seconds on LASBRA. That's his initiation, but unfortunately, Halfghost a little too far away to find the capitalization. The fact that the jungler needed to be there to defend the purple buff means that you're sharing that buff now 3 ways, and the Anxiety Onset are still very comfortable as there's level 4 in Halfghost. He'll get that mounted archery before Joshy will get the petrify. There could be a lot of continued aggression in this dueling.
Plus, they were able to leave Halfghost over there on the wave by himself, just sort of let a few minions die while the rest of Insignem had to be defending the purple buff. So just smaller gains that Anxiety Onset were able to grab up over Insignem to exacerbate their lead, which is already going to be getting bigger and bigger because of they're just taking camps.
It's getting really scary thus far. Insignem needs to make sure they don't let this get out of control the same way they did in game number 1. Mollusk goes into the sky. I'm pretty sure Insignem are aware.
DeathPanter does dash away, even finds the stun. So they get a little bit of return damage down. That's going to be the ultimate down for Mollusk for a little while longer.
A couple of archers are going to enter that tower line as the rollout from HalfDevil trying to keep it outside, but he didn't want to take too much damage coming from Halfghost. That's about to hit level 5. More than likely off of this next wave. Both soul laners are in the thick of things. Mandowarrior is not even worried about this level 4 dodgy. He's still clearing the wave uncontested.
LASBRA just trying to soak up some farm where he can because the jungle continues to get stripped away from him. I mean, where is he supposed to go to farm right now? He kind of has to soak some of this up along with Zearoe. Mollusk, though, is making the rotation, so they'll need to retreat. Mandowarrior did just use the Stygian Torment that will not be available as LASBRA's forced to back.
Trying to back the red buff. They have the timer, both of these teams, but LASBRA was in the soul lane. He committed a little bit too deep. So that's why Mollusk was like, oh, okay, well, if LASBRA's there, I'm going to go into the soul lane as well. And Mollusk stripping away the speed, but LASBRA cannot get anything rolling. 2-level disadvantage.
That's the worst timing, too. LASBRA's there just in time to watch it not be there anymore. So now still level 4 while Mollusk is level 6. Mandowarrior continuing to proxy, and I don't think he's even particularly worried that LASBRA's on the way. Earth and Fury and the stun come out, so this is actually really good damage. But now Mollusk is here. The cavalry has arrived, but Mandowarrior may have taken too much damage too soon. They continue with the auto attacks, and Mandowarrior is going to drop to the bomb. DeathPanter gonna grab first blood for Insignem.
There was no ultimate coming out of Mandowarrior. He used it earlier, trying to probably bully out Zearoe and LASBRA, which is what led to that speed buff invade to begin with. So that was a good opportunity, but caught between a rock and a hard place. Even though LASBRA was only level 4, the damage from Zearoe being amplified with that Earth and Fury allows for an easy pick.
Slow's gonna come out to HalfDevil. Does get stunned by Halfghost. Heavenly Banner chunks him. Gets interrupted, though, by the Shockwave, and Joshy comes in with the Petrify. That's going to force Halfghost and PainDeViande back and spare the life there of HalfDevil.
A lot of patience from HalfDevil. He needed to get the knockup during the channeled route from PainDeViande, and that allowed him to continue to escape. And I don't think Pain can escape this one.
The Rainfire's going to come in. The Flame Wave is enough. DeathPanter now 2-0-0 to get this game started off. Insignem already looking way better here in Game 1 than they did in Game 2.
Definitely looking a lot more solid, I would say, finding the defensive plays. They're really using the own weight of Anxiety Onset against them every single time that the dual lane aggresses. Miles now in a 1v3, can't even get into the sky in time.
That's 3 kills now. HalfDevil's going to get credit for that one. Cataclysm comes in, but Paul ready to continue botching this one out. Up onto the Palau. This is almost certainly going to pull him in, but he forced 70 chunks. DeathPanter with the water hands puts him down.
Serious?
Paul is nutty double kill
Are you
for
real?
the Half-Wall. He's ready to 1v3. LASBRA's got to retreat.
This is Paul in a nutshell. He gets the Habwa, he gets left unchecked. He doesn't need mobility when he has Bancroft's talent finished. He wants to fight at 10% health to amplify himself with more magical power.
Holy cow. I mean, that just can't happen, right? I mean, you can't allow Paul to continue to do this on the Halfghost. 2-0-0 now. Right when Insignem look like they're gaining some momentum, they are able to get the kill on the Mollusk. Paul just turns it on with a big individual play, and this is what that Bancroft rush can do, as you said.
DeathPanter looked like a deer in the headlights during the ultimate of the Crushing Wave.
Right.
The thing was, when he got Powell out, the only escape was to use the Crushing Wave for the CC immunity. Beads were on cooldown for Paul, and DeathPanter was just on the train tracks. He needed to step off the side.
DeathPanter was thinking, okay, he's going to use the ultimate to retreat, right? So everything's going to be... No, Paul's coming right at your face, man. He's going to put the ultimate on you and put you down. Water hands to follow it up. DeathPanter got deleted.
That 2-kill return now for Paul is going to allow him to complete those Magi boots, really get some more magical penetration. Probably going to go for the Spear of Desolation the same way he did in the last game, making sure he gets the damage and the cooldown. A little bit of cooldown reduction never hurts, even though you already have 3-second cooldown with that water cannon.
Joshy and HalfDevil going to come back over towards the dual lane. They are much closer this time, are the dual lane of Insignem, so I like this a lot better here. Should help them out a good bit, but I think we're actually going to take another look back at that double kill here in just a moment as HalfDevil aggresses in the dual lane. This is where Paul used the Crushing Wave in and just deletes DeathPanter. 2 quick abilities.
Oh, in the dual lane, though, already a lot of action as Joshy's going to find one onto Halfghost there. The great opportunity between both of those ultimates. Didn't seem that Halfghost even used his own purification beads. I'm not sure if it was on cooldown or just came off, but didn't respect the double wombo combo.
This is better, though, from Insignem. Everywhere where Paul isn't, things seem to be going a lot better. As DeathPanter is dead! That's what you get for being in the mid lane, apparently, near a Habwa who's level 10. 3-0-0 for Paul. And he is really swinging at this point.
I don't think that Europeans are used to playing against Habwa. This is basically your typical ranked game in North America. You'll see a Habwa, if it's not banned every single time. HalfDevil feeling the rat pressure. Red buff will be secured out of Insignem. Not going to get invaded this time. But DeathPanter, he just like threw his hands in the air after that. That's like, what can I do? And I'm like, just ban Hebo against Paul. I'm like, it's literally that simple.
That's all you got. That's all you could do, right? To try and not have this exact thing happen to you. But Paul continuing to bully DeathPanter out when DeathPanter was starting to look like he could potentially be the shining light for Insignem here this game, right? He made the rotation to solo and was able to help get a kill over there. We saw the same happen to play in duo, but DeathPanter has been significantly slowed down.
2-level discrepancy between these two mid-mages. Not a good look for the Agni that needs to make sure that his player damage is going to be relatively close to Paul. That's been making a lot of highlight plays. Good dash from DeathPanter, returning some bombs to the solo lane Cerberus. Going for the Warlock staff, surprisingly, is Mandowarrior. An item that takes a long time to finish stacking off, but if there's ever a lane to do it, it certainly is a solo lane.
And I think that in most cases, like if you're playing the Guardian, you really wish that you could build it, but you can't a lot of the times if you're up against Warriors. But maybe it's because of this Guardian v Guardian matchup where there's not enough pressure to punish it from Mando.
It's true. It's both of them are relatively passive. They could definitely be aggressive whenever they want to now that they're level 11. But with all the action here in the mid lane, I'm not really surprised that Mandowarrior's opting for this more safe option considering he's going to get a lot of health.
Mollusk is lurking and ready to go up to the sky. Halfghost goes aggressive as well. Mounted archery is used. The stun might not land, but he does at least trade out 1-for-1. Good damage there from Joshy to at least get a kill in.
Halfghost didn't really need to use his ultimate to get closer to Joshy. He just needed to allow the pressure from Mollusk. You know, one goes in, one comes out, one goes in, one comes out. You got to use the pieces to your advantage, and that's something that Halfghost, already struggling with these two devs, needs to clean that up to make sure that Anxiety Onset is going to be on the board with some Gold Fury under their belts.
Yeah, it feels like maybe he went in like a half step too soon, perhaps. I think he wanted to try and force Joshy to maybe dash before Mollusk came in. The problem is that he just was overcommitted afterwards, and Joshy was able to at least just dump his whole kit into him.
Red buff being stripped away. Good look now for DeathPanter. That's about to fade away with that red buff. I think Paul just picked it up. A little bit of aggression. Onset PainDeViande this time.
Cataclysm has been committed. Joshy does have good damage, but Mollusk is able to create a little bit of space. PainDeViande going to rotate out.
Out of range.
LASBRA's up in the air looking for the powwow, and I guess the target for that is going to be Paul, but not going to be able to pull anyone back in as Paul retreats. Sprint comes out, though. They want to fight.
Still has Crushing Wave. The goal is to go into Joshy. Will use that defensively, but a nice double stun.
Comes out for him. That means Zearoe can find the first kill, and I think this is a good fight for him. Halfghost, though, returns the favor onto Joshy. Now DeathPanter is here, and the rain fire can burn through the fight when he doesn't have to worry about Paul. Stun lands on the Mollusk. Root lands on the Mollusk. Bombs land on the Mollusk, and HalfDevil takes down Mollusk. That's another kill for Insignem.
Uh-oh, here comes Mandowarrior. Gap Shield's going to stop at the knockout. DeathPanter dashes in aggressively. The stun will secure the kill. It's a 2 for 3 at the end of the day. And that's going to be a huge win for Insignem.
Finally able to get a couple important kills. The most important one, though, I believe, was on to Paul in that fight. Just, even if it costs a couple lives, slow this guy down. Don't let him farm freely on the map.
Look what happens when you force a defensive ultimate, not having to worry about that 700 to 800 damage Crushing Wave. He was going for Joshy. He knew that he had to get away from the powwow, so he went underneath. He wrapped around. But by the time that DeathPanter showed up, he was like, oh no, I need to get out now. And the positioning, more importantly, from Zearoe allowed the success from Insignem. This is why they first picked the Terra this time around. It got through to the secondary ban phase in game number 1, which is surprising, honestly, with how much control this goddess provides between the roots and the stuns, not to mention just the impact from that Earth and Fury, mitigating the enemy's damage, boosting your own, getting the heal over time. This kit is just solid.
Red buff invade, I think, is going to be the call as the Mollusk goes up into the air. They do land on the backside looking for LASBRA, who is going to be okay for now. They use the Cataclysm. That's going to lock down Paul for the moment. Aegis lets him immune a ton of damage. LASBRA up onto the powwow and slapping him with the chains. Crushing Wave going to get him away. Puts a ton of damage into HalfDevil, and they are able to secure 1 kill, but DeathPanter trades it back out 1 for 1.
Trying to get something more in return. HalfDevil took a lot of damage from Paul before he fell, and trading mid for a Hunter, still a 4-on-4. But without too much health for HalfDevil, should favor Anxiety Onset to go for another objective if they really want to. LASBRA going to secure these right side mid Harpies for himself. Pyromancer could be looked at for Insignem, but I think Gold Fury is the objective for Anxiety.
Yeah, the rest of Anxiety Onset are able to grab it. I think that DeathPanter finally is able to recognize this is happening. It looks like they do have it warded, but on the rotation, Mandowarrior catches him out and chunks him. The Stygian Torment going to be more than enough. DeathPanter just trying to defend Gold Fury gets taken down. Anxiety Onset are able to secure the objective. Now the fight's on as they look for Zearoe, stuns him mid-dash, and PainDeViande is here for the control.
The stun is good. Halfghost is eliminated. Maul is trying to run away from the rollout. HalfDevil thinking that he needs to escape. Not enough damage on the rollout. 1 for 1 as Zearoe trades out for Halfghost, but the Gold Fury allows Anxiety Onset to start building it up the same way they were in game number 1. And it doesn't matter if you're playing the Geb or the Cerberus here. Mandowarrior's a threat to be reckoned with. DeathPanter was in a bad spot there.
Wow, even with the kills being much closer this time, and Insignem's still down a significant amount, about 5,000 experience, about 3,500 gold or so, well, closer to 3,000 gold. So at this point, Anxiety Onset still building up a lead. It's not the 12,000 gold lead we saw last game, but certainly they still seem to be the one in the driver's seat. as Joshy boxes it out up against Pain. How often is the enemy support the same level, huh? level 11, level 11.
That's true. It's not very common whatsoever, but still a huge level discrepancy. Even though we've seen the goal to be starting to diminish compared to Game 1 and Game 2, but these two mid laners are just two different worlds. Level 13 just now on DeathPanter, whereas Paul's been sitting level 16 for quite a bit of time.
Pyromancer goes the way of Anxiety Onset as well. Zearoe just a second there too late to at least try to grab it with the walls. Is going to come up and see if he can maybe stop the blue buff, but not going to be there in time for that either. Mandowarrior going to grab it and head right back to lane.
Just poking out Malas, forces him back to base though. Allows the Oracles to be secured for Insignem. Definitely fixing a lot of their issues from the last game here. 10 to 10. Read the kills. And with only a 3,500 gold discrepancy, their defense potential has been increased with this Agni. The control between the Geb, the Agni, the team fight is so solid from the Europeans as well when you consider that the Terra can provide it. The extra push to throw Anxiety over the ledge.
LASBRA jumps in. That does force out the ultimate to come out from the Mollusk. But he wants to drop right back in. Cataclysm's perfect to force out the relics in response from Mollusk, who takes a good bit of damage from LASBRA. Pal out comes out, but misses all 3 chains. Mollusk is nutty and on his way out of there. Doesn't land the stun, but Paul's here to help trade it back out.
Oh, Mollusk is still going to go in, though. He's going to take a lot of damage. But this LASBRA caught between a rock and a hard place. Paul knew what was going down.
Now the damage is going to be onto HalfDevil. The Root comes out to try and help create some space for him. Mandowarrior instead turns around to look for Zearoe, who has no mana to his name. He's going to be forced to look for the retreat. Paul's here for damage too. Halfghost has to use the Mountain Archery to escape from the damage from DeathPanter. He'll be okay, though.
Good escape. The dot's not enough to take out his life. HalfDevil, though, can't say the same for him. Just barely able to avoid that one. Speed buff secured, as well as the life of DeathPanter. Still being aggressive, but not too much mana for Paul to continue the chase. It's going to be Halfghost getting this tier 1 mid tower. Anxiety Onset still building momentum. Solid performance in this best of 3 set.
Ends up being a 2 for 0 in their favor. They grabbed the tier 1 tower. I believe they were also able to drop that speed buff too, even though they couldn't quite grab it. So all around, Anxiety Onset come out on top in that fight. And all credit to Mollusk at the top end of that fight by the mid Harpies, being able to survive from the pressure from LASBRA and DeathPanter. I don't think he used beat. I think that he was just able to dodge all the chains and able to make it out of there with his life when Paul rotated over.
Dashed away from that third chain that was about to connect. He juked the first 2 very well. So that was a great opportunity as well. When he landed, he used the Aegis after the Cataclysm. He's like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble here. So the great timing. Not so safe as Zearoe, though. 1v2.
Stygian Torment, not going to be able to pull Zearoe in, but I don't think they even need it. Mollusk has plenty of damage. They take down the tier 1 tower first, and they shouldn't need much more to be able to find this last hit and get the kill. The dash is going to confirm it for them. 13 kills now for Anxiety Onset, and Mandowarrior does not know what retreat means.
Definitely not here. It's going to be another 2v2 as Mollusk is waiting to go land from the branches. Goes on to 2, forces the Mad Guy's Cloak as well into LASBRA. DeathPanter right around the corner, pulling out 1 as well. The damage is coming through from DeathPanter.
The damage from DeathPanter is huge. HalfDevil able to take down Mollusk first. Now Mandowarrior in a 3v1. Geb shield to keep LASBRA alive, but Paul is lurking around the corner. Water Spout lets him trade out yet another kill, but not before DeathPanter is able to find Mandowarrior, but Paul's not done. He wants to put out the fire.
He needs the Water Spout. He doesn't connect onto it. He could still go in for a crushing wave just to guarantee the water cannon, but HalfDevil will expect that, will throw the shield out. He wants it. Paul was flirting with fire there, but too much aggression from Anxiety Onset, not respecting the counter engage from Insignem.
Zearoe actually teleports over to the tier 1 to stop PainDeViande and Halfghost from aggressing. That is going to stop them from aggressing to the tier 2. Tier 1s, though, all across the map have already been taken down as Gold Fury respawns into the map. Anxiety Onset, not ready to go for that just yet, but they do have Oracle Vision.
Mandowarrior's dead for another 12 seconds. His teleport is not available. I'm not sure if Insignem has that same information that we do, but that could have been a nice 5-on-4 opportunity to put themselves on the board.
What a world of difference, though, it's made for DeathPanter here, I feel like, in Game 2 to be playing on this Agni. Doesn't he? He looks great for this team, able to make the rotations and help respond to some of this aggression. And he's been able to safely get away from Paul whenever Paul starts chasing him down, at least for the most part. He still does have 5 deaths, so he has been getting punished, but he's looked a lot better. Paul just looks insane, though. Level 20 right now on the Hobwa, highest level in the game.
And that's why Anxiety Onset are going to continue to group up as 4 or maybe even 5 here if Mandowarrior wants to look for that rotation as he secures his own blue buff. With Gold Fury right on the map, 20 minutes in, it was actually Anxiety Onset. They got the first one. You can easily look for the second one if they can group up and look for a straggler out of Insignem.
Now, Zearoe went for the Rod of Asclepius, but he's on Terra. That makes a little bit more sense for me on the Terra, right? Terra does have some heals in there, as opposed to Mandowarrior, who I believe picked it up in Game 1. So it looks like that's something that's being valued between both these solo Guardians.
Yeah, there was a lot of healing from the Artio out of PainDeViande in the last game.
Sure.
The self-healing from Artemis's Halfghost. And also keep in mind, Paul, when he builds his Bancroft's talent, he has that magical lifesteal.
Cataclysm comes in. Paul forced to use the beads, it looks like, to get away from that one. DeathPanter looking for damage over the top, but LASBRA goes in, and now he's using the Pal out, trying to get some pulls. Force the crush away from Paul as Mollusk goes in on the backside. HalfDevil and DeathPanter have all been brought very low. The chunk coming through from Mandowarrior, but it's actually Halfghost who's in trouble. Joshy finds the first kill. Paul takes down DeathPanter as Mollusk is traded out in kind.
Joshy.
Anxiety Onset still pushing, though.
Joshy trying to run away, but he's caught and body blocked under his own tier 2 tower. It was
Double.
3 for 2 at the end of the day. Joshy got that first pick, which was important, but Paul cannot be touched here. Even with the Pal out, forcing the crushing wave ultimate, that water cannon and water sprout does too much damage here. Level 20 Habwa, 5 items deep with red buff. He is just obliterating Insignem.
Gold Fury now being secured while Zearoe is being zoned away. LASBRA nowhere nearby. Zearoe being a little bit more than zoned. Mandowarrior, if he can get those abilities back up, actually has decent chance. Blinks over to prevent the dash attempt. Not going to be able to catch him out, though. The jump is here.
This could be a solo kill.
He's very close, so that's why we're sticking with him, even though Gold Fury just went down. LASBRA has shown up. That might deter him. The Mandowarrior going to keep looking for it.
He might not even... Oh, he gets the paralyzing spin on top of it. Zearoe looking so flustered in his player cam. When he was dove 1v2 under that tier 1 tower in the solo lane, he looked flustered as well. Definitely could see a little bit of emotion from the Europeans.
Yeah, Zearoe getting just, I think, a little bit outplayed here by Mandowarrior in this set, who's looked excellent on the Geb and then playing the Cerberus here in Game 2. Seeing a lot more of these Guardians than we've seen in the SPL, where I feel like it's been a lot of Warriors like the Achilles and the Cucullin. DeathPanter, got to make sure he watches out. This Guardian continues to chase.
Trying to find something onto DeathPanter. Jumps away from the bomb stun while the rest of his team secures the Pyromancer. Almost 23 minutes into game number 2. It's Anxiety Onset. Builds himself a nice, comfortable 9,000 gold lead.
To go along with their 13,000 experience lead totally. It took a little while longer, but Anxiety Onset are approaching some of those same numbers as far as the lead is concerned that they had in Game 1. Remember, this is a best of 3. Insignem need this game to try and keep this one alive totally. Both these teams are going to be playing for prizing here. It's going to be $6,000 for first place, $4,000 for second, but that's a $2,000 difference between it. I'm sure Insignem would like to be able to nab that for themselves. LASBRA, though, in a little bit of trouble. Has to go up onto the Pal-Out. Mollusk is here to try and punish Zearoe on the back side. HalfDevil's the one that takes a lot of damage, but Mollusk has to be careful too. The rain fire from DeathPanter is certainly hurting. Mandowarrior wants to dive. He is able to find the stun on the HalfDevil as Mollusk falls on the backside.
A great opportunity to find one, but Joshy gets answered in kind. It's a 2-for-1 as Anxiety Onset continues the pressure, trying to pin away Zearoe. The knockup onto DeathPanter. The spit from Mando, a third victim, trying to find their fourth onto Zearoe. The slows coming through. Mandowarrior with a hot double, and there's going to be a hot fire giant waiting on the table for the North Americans.
4-for-1 in favor of Anxiety Onset all day long. They now come towards the fire giant, which Paul lets knock him up because, I mean, at this point, he's just fine, even taking that much damage. But you can't let Paul go unchecked in the team fights. And Mandowarrior, man, I know he's on the Cerberus solo, but he's doing so much damage in these fights.
The paralyzing spit accuracy from Mandowarrior is looking solid. Look at the player damage. So close.
Yeah.
Is the mid Habwa with the solo Cerberus. Keep in mind, though, we haven't touched upon it. Ghastly Breath reduces the magical protection, which not only helps Cerberus, but the Habwa that's already dealing that much damage. So it doesn't really matter how much magical defense you're building, whether you're Zearoe or HalfDevil, you're going to get chunked.
And look at that, with it maxed out, it's 14 protection.
At 3 stacks, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a ton that's going to be coming out if he's able to hit you with all those from the Ghastly Breath, then Paul following up with his damage. But take a look at Mando's build as well. We highlighted the Warlock staff already, but he also has the Void Stone. There is plenty of damage, actually, in Mandowarrior's kit. So you tack on the Ghastly Breath, tack on the Void Stone passive, they are shredding anyone from Insignem who's nearby.
That's a total of 62 magical protections shredded. Paul, look at that. That was one water cannon. That was an Water cannon. That's his 3-second cooldown ability.
Joshy, where you gone, buddy? He's just not here any longer. Paul and Mandowarrior straight up removing people from the map. Anxiety Onset with 23 kills with Fire Giant around their waist. They are ready to start pushing in on Insignem right now, and I don't know where they can put on the brakes. Paul and Mandowarrior are just too much.
Doing the same endgame strategy as Mandowarrior, splitting the uprights, going one side while the rest of his team going for the other. Looking for a pick, though, instead going for all 5 down the mid lane. Up in the sky goes Mollusk, who's the victim.
He's got his eyes on DeathPanter. He does knock him up, but Geb Shield helps him escape. Mandowarrior jumps in, able to pull out a couple key cooldowns, but LASBRA is up on the Palau and looking to pull in Mollusk, who he does grab. DeathPanter has to use Aegis on the backside. Water Spout chunks him down to 20% HP. Mid Phoenix is already down, and DeathPanter has to retreat. LASBRA gets taken out by Mollusk. Zearoe's the next one looking to get control.
DeathPanter can be even involved in the team fight. He's being zoned away from Mandowarrior. Another cleanup. 2 dead members from Insignem as the middle Phoenix fell. Anxiety Onset, though, they're not interested in ending quite yet. Couple members a little too low, specifically Paul. He's going to try to heal off of those back camps. Now Mandowarrior trying to zone for a little bit longer because Anxiety Onset are recollapsing.
Yeah, Paul's coming in from the right. Halfghost coming in from the left. Water Spout gonna knock up HalfDevil. Stun lands on the Joshy. Now the Ghastly Breath can lock him down. Aegis is good, so he is gonna be able to make his way out of there as HalfDevil continues to get chunked by Paul. Paul has the Rod of Tahuti packing for him here, so another extra, 150 power plus the passive?
6 items deep. This late game Habwa, if it wasn't chunking already, it's going to add more fire to the fuel. 26,000 player damage.
No, DeathPanter's playing Agni.
Oh, you're right.
With the fire.
Yeah, that's why water beats fire, right?
It does. It looks like it's super effective, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah.
It's felt that way here so far this set. But I actually love this Rod of Tahuti pickup from him. The Water Spout, like onto a low health target when they're trying to get away, that's going to be devastating.
It's going to be easy pickings out of this Habwa mid. So much damage and a little bit of lifesteal. He was at the red, so he went to the back camps. I noticed this the corner of my eye, where he went from 10% health to about 40% health off of 1 water cannon on those back camps.
And the problem is there's just too many threats, I feel like, here from Anxiety Onset for Insignem to deal with in a team fight. So a lot of the times Mandowarrior will go in first for them, and then that gets a couple beads, a couple Aegises. Then PainDeViande is able to rotate in and look for roots, look for cripples to try and force out even more cooldowns. And the whole while, Paul and Halfghost are just raining in the damage. It's too many different areas for Insignem to try and respond to all of them.
It's a great point that you talk about the root from PainDeViande, because it's more than likely that HalfDevil has to commit the knockup to prevent the 5th tick of that ability, which will confirm the root. And when you're using that ability to stop that, well, now all of a sudden Paul is being left unchecked here. Mandowarrior can easily go in as well. There's just so many offensive opportunities for Anxiety Onset with this Artio pick. And Artio is a hit or miss depending on what team you are and what your play style is. It has a lot of aggressive tendencies, but when you can't get off those aggressive tendencies, you're not as useful in the late game.
Mandowarrior is going to chase HalfDevil out. Who's having a hard time finding a target. Zearoe does get knocked up by Mollusk. Joshy's trying to put in the damage. It does force Mollusk back as LASBRA is able to get a couple pulls into the rain. Fire! Halfghost needs the shell to keep him standing, but PainDeViande going to continue to frontline. Anxiety Onset consider retreating, but Mandowarrior pushes forward.
He was called back. The dog was leashed back in, considering how many Anxiety members were just chunked. Halfghost was in the red, trying to lifesteal off those back camps. Paul was not sitting pretty either. Playing a little bit too aggressive with Fire Giants still coming off cooldown. They wanted to see if they can at least find a pick and then maybe go for an end, but that could have been an easy turnaround play with that pull into multiple Agni bomb stuns. That was the dream fight for Insignem, and they couldn't find a single kill.
They just weren't able to find it. The Relic's too strong, I feel like, coming off from Anxiety Onset as they do grab the Fire Giant. But you mentioned it, though. Halfghost healing up. You went with the double lifesteal build. It has the Devourer's Gauntlets and the Bloodforge both. So it is going to be just that much harder to try and bring Halfghost down.
That passive so effective when you get those last hits, getting extra health shield, getting yourself that movement speed to be able to avoid certain dangers. That's the mindset of the late game hunter. So trying to make it happen. Anxiety Onset. They have this enhanced Fire Giant as we approach the 30-minute mark. The right side Phoenix still stands strong. Mid Phoenix about to respawn. That could be the next target.
And look at this build from mollusk, too. I feel like we haven't even given him enough credit. He really is another part of their wave of initiation with the Void Shield, Pestilence, Spirit Robe. Asamuna, he's not going to be easy to bring down either.
He doesn't need the damage because Paul is bringing it for him. So as long as Mollusk can land from his Through the Cosmos, survive and absorb all those abilities, that gives the freedom for Paul and Halfghost to do their hyper carry late game objective.
And Mollusk is ready to go in, and his target's going to be DeathPanter. That is a lot of Insignem's damage. Instead, head toward the mid-Phoenix, which is already crumbled, but Paul gets deleted. Joshy is able to track him down the right-hand side. Now the pull comes in from LASBRA, and Mandowarrior is in a little bit of trouble. He's forced to retreat. PainDeViande gets locked down by Joshy. Double kill for the Medusa for Insignem. Huge fight now coming out for the boys from Europe as they try and chase down Halfghost on the right side, and Mandowarrior's forced to retreat.
Look at DeathPanter trying to cut off Mando. Mando don't respect that potential. He is taking the long route. Left side, though, it's LASBRA up against Mollusk trying to defend that left side Phoenix. I don't think he's going to be able to do so. He won't. And two Phoenixes still stripped away. Anxiety Onset. They don't win the team fight, but they got what they came for. And killing
this is so
those...
This is so good. Mollusk is pulling them away, right? Instead of LASBRA and Halfghost being able to HalfDevil being able to chase the kill towards the team, they come back towards the fountain and they can't help out. Perfect play.
Can they end? No. There's Mandowarrior and Halfghost up. There is 5 strong members out of Insignem, but with those tier 2 towers on the left and right, by the time they get the middle Phoenix, Paul will actually be up to defend it. So having to retreat now. Anxiety Onset can't really force anything with 4-on-5. They have to wait for Mollusk to respawn in 40 seconds. They need to figure out a way to not let Paul die. His beads were on cooldown during that engagement. He held on to the crushing wave. I'm not sure if he got stoned by the Petrify or whatever, but him falling allows the rest of Insignem to take full advantage of the rest of the fight.
Joshy coming up big for him in that fight, finally being able to track down Paul. What a difference it makes when they don't have to worry about a bajillion and a half damage coming out from this Habwa as they were able to track him down early on in the fight. Still, though, Anxiety Onset firmly the ones that have control here. 2 Phoenixes down for Insignem. Only the Phoenix on the right side of the map that is still standing. And there's still some relevance to this gold lead. They're not entirely 6 slotted yet, are Insignem.
It's true. Halfghost still with the Fire Giant for himself, so if Anxiety Onset wanted to continue the pressure on the right side, they certainly can. That 30% additional structure damage will be the key to demolishing that last remaining Phoenix. As we approach the 33-minute mark, that's the goal from Anxiety. Get this last Phoenix off the board.
And this is interesting. There's been a lot of crit builds, I feel like, from the SPL players, but both of these hunters, Joshy and Halfghost, going with that attack speed builds that we're seeing, like with the Odysseus bow, with the Titan's Bane Transcendence combo. Oh, I like this difference here in mentality.
I personally don't, considering there's no Thorns or Hide Enemy in line.
Sure.
Hold that thought. HalfDevil blinking in, trying to catch Halfghost slipping.
HalfDevil is already forced to make the retreat. Mandowarrior has to come out as well, but Mollusk looks for DeathPanter on the backside. Joshy's right there, though, to be the best friend and force them all away. Meanwhile, Paul continuing to put damage in onto the rest of Insignem, and they've got to look for the retreat. PainDeViande took too much damage. He has to leave. Mollusk is trying to chase down DeathPanter, but can't find him, and LASBRA can't find the last hit either.
The shield keeping DeathPanter up alive for the moment, but it's 3 dead Insignem members. Only Mollusk falling. This Titan is exposed after that right side Phoenix goes down.
Paul uses the Aegis to immune the damage from HalfDevil. Mandowarrior is trying to control him now with the Ghastly Breath, but fire minions are swarming the Titan. Even though they managed to do well in the team fight, they're not going to be able to stop all these minions are coming into the Titan. I think Anxiety Onset are able to do it, and they do. They take the set here over their opponents.
Insignem is going to fall. That's a 2-0 clean sweep. Anxiety Onset are still 22-0, undefeated in their own respective region and against the European champions out of SML.
And maybe that makes the North American SML feel a little bit better, though, right? I mean, and not even Europe can take these guys down. They're clearly just that good, but still a strong set that we saw here from Insignem. They did what DeathPanter looked great on the Agni at times. They just could not find a way to control all 5 members of Anxiety Onset.
They had their moments of brilliance in certain team fights. Dodgy on LASBRA, certainly being effective at times, finding multiple pulls, potentially forcing out some of those defensive ultimates from Paul, and that was the key, honestly. Paul, he plays the Habwa. That's what he's known for. That's not a bit. That literally, he is Habwa.
Like, you mean just he himself,
he
right?
himself embodies Habwa.
Yeah, this is the teams. There's still plenty of respect between all these guys. We talked about some of the Insignem guys that looked great. Even Joshy had a couple of great kills there on their Phoenix defenses. So a much better showing in Game 2 than Game 1, where Anxiety and Onset were kind of able to run through the whole game, but still not able to entirely put the brakes on. Anxiety Onset looking very, very strong there in the minor league.
And definitely going to be looking at some of their games is the SPL teams for the next season as well as we approach the summer split.
Well, we do want to know, who do you think is the MVP? Vote for us there in Mixer Chat. That way we can see if you all have an idea of if it's Paul. Is it going to be Paul? Do you think it's Paul? Is it Paul?
It's the Hebo, a.k.a. Paul.
It's the Hebo, a.k.a. Paul. Well, we'll get over to the desk and let him break down that set.
Thank you very much, Finch and Tolly. 22-0. They did it. Anxiety Onset complete their undefeated spring split. Congratulations to them. They just looked dominant, Taco.
I gotta say it. I am happy to see Mollusk get his land win. I think that this has been a long time coming, and it's awesome watching the glow up of players in a sense. But Anxiety Onset, I don't think that this set reflects Insignem very well, and I don't think that really reflects the potential and the strengths of this team. I think this was just an unfortunate circumstance where EU SML meta, I feel, was just as a whole a lot slower paced than what the NA meta has been. And I mean, we both saw a decent amount of SML back and forth on a lot of those weekends. And Anxiety Onset just kept doing what they kind of been doing the entire spring split season. It's just running at you with pressure.
I think that's the big thing. I completely agree with you. Insignem is a better team than they showed here today, but I just don't think they've prepped very well, because how could you watch Anxiety Onset and not be ready for early pressure? This is what they've done all split long. It's not a surprise.
I think these were actually the exact same drafts outside of maybe one or two god picks, but all of these gods were basically the exact same gods that Anxiety Onset have been running all season long. So the prep possibilities were there. I do feel as though that was just an oversight by Insignem. They didn't seem as though they were really anticipating to have this many struggles, and so game one kind of happens and you get the rug swept out from underneath you, and it's a wake-up call, but wake-up calls still won't adjust your levels of prep.
Everyone's got a game plan until they get hit in the mouth, and that's kind of what Anxiety Onset did to him. Specifically, Paul, your MVP for game 2. This game was going really, really, really well for Insignem in the early game, and then Paul happened.
It was the turnaround play as well near the red buff section where HalfDevil goes in, and I think that kind of baited DeathPanter on LASBRA to try and follow up, but Paul was on that Bancroft's rush, and Bancroft's lifesteal was the main reason why Paul doesn't end up dying there. Finds a double kill, not only takes out DeathPanter, which was a huge blow because DeathPanter had just started to really develop a little bit of a lead after some successful ganks, and Paul just turned it right back around. I know we say it all the time, or I know teams will say it all the time, like, oh, well, why wouldn't you just ban Habois against Paul? But from my personal perspective, I think if you ban Habois in your first couple of bans, you're just going to end up giving Anxiety Onset an even better pressure pick that they'd probably be able to utilize even quicker. And so I don't fault Insignem for trying to just work around the Habois. I think that they just approached it the wrong way.
I don't disagree with you there, but how could you be anything but impressed with how Anxiety Onset played as a whole? And we spent all split talking about how good Paul is, Paul this, Paul that, and it's all warranted. But how about Mandowarrior, man? He played lights out during this set. Congratulations to him and the rest of Anxiety Onset. And we've got an interview standing by to talk to the undefeated team.
Anxiety Onset, congratulations with your 2-0 victory over Insignem. You still are undefeated in Season 5. How does it feel? Did any team really challenge you feel?
I feel like in the NA SML, at least Sam's team, which are now Wowie's team, or I'm not too sure which one they're called, they're really solid players. Whenever we scrim them, we trade games often. So obviously we're undefeated in the tournament, but in scrims we definitely lost some games. So I'd say these guys, and even the EU folks there, near the end of the second game, Carter started being a little shaky, as you guys saw, almost through a Phoenix fight. So I'd say these guys are also really freaking good. But overall, I think the talent pool is a little bit higher than I expected it to be at first. I already played CC in the past, in the Combine as well. So I expected to just sweep through our games. We ended up not losing a single game, but some of our games we got punished for mistakes, and obviously there was some talent there. So yeah, I'd say fairly decent amount of it.
Well, certainly some strong games from you all here today. Talk to me a little bit about what the comms are like in picks and bans when Paul gets to hobwop both of those games. I mean, talk to me a little bit about that.
So obviously, the first thing Paul says whenever Abwa's not banned, he says, "Well, you guys, you know what time it is. It's time for the Hebo every single time." And so there's a little bit of trolling, you know, where like we're gonna hover like this character, and then we're gonna change the last second, so they think we're gonna pick it, and it ends up actually working most of the time. So yeah.
Outside of the hobwall for Paul, Mandowarrior definitely stepping up today on the Gab. The first bloodsteal in the first game, he was like level 20 before anyone else as well. Then playing a fantastic Cerberus. What is it about Mandowarrior that really works in your guys' environment?
Well, I think for some reason, whenever we play, we tend to play towards the enemy's purple and red buff. Well, not all the time, but most of the time. And so Mando's been used to not having too much help in his lane. So when it turns out that he gets pressure by himself, or the enemy jungler doesn't come ever to his lane, then he just goes, he pops off, and then he does super well. So I guess that would be the main reason. Just used to being on his own.
Well, I want to ask you all a little bit here about the duo lane there, about, you know, up against Joshy in particular. How are you all able to get pressure over in the duo lane both times, it feels like? It took maybe a little bit longer in game 2, but how are you all able to get so much pressure over there?
It was, I don't know, me and Pain always get pressure somehow in like all of our minor league games. I've just found this to be like a habit at this point. I guess he just leads me personally. So yeah, General Pain.
General Pain and Mr. Halfghost as well. Thank you so much for your time and congratulations over your 2-0 victory against Insignem. Any shout-outs you want to give before we let you guys go?
Shout-outs to all the fantastic sponsors that were offering to cover us for this event. Shout-outs to my girlfriend Melina, which is here and supporting me today. And shout-outs to Mollis for having a great smile.
No shout-outs for me. I'm good.
All right, thank you so much for your time, guys. Congratulations again.
Thanks.
There you have it. Anxiety Onset complete their perfect spring split. Really impressive stuff from them. But that's not all we've got for you today. It's Championship Sunday. We already got one champion. That's Anxiety Onset, of course. Team Dignitas versus Team Rival. You may have seen them play earlier. This is a double elimination bracket, a whole new setup for the Smite Masters LAN. And as such, we've got a best of 7 coming your way. Now, Dignitas, since they're coming from the winner's side, they will have the 1-game advantage, so they're technically already up 1-0, but don't worry, you didn't miss anything. And to make sure you don't miss anything, go get a drink or a snack, take your bathroom break right now. We're going to go to a quick break as we get ready for your Masters Championship.
audio and like just a good headset is insane because there's the crowd cheering, there's people yelling near you, there's your teammates yelling.
I would definitely invest in audio equipment the same way I would with any other gear that revolves around playing Smite.
Being able to know what's up, calling timers and being able to coordinate strategies and whatnot it's incredibly important, and that's what separates the best teams from the worst.
Yeah.